It started with an email, the kind of email no one ever wants to receive, especially not while you're thousands of miles away serving your country. I had just finished a long, exhausting day when I opened my inbox to a message from my husband, Johnson. His words struck me like a bolt of lightning. He was divorcing me. He'd emptied our joint account and moved his new girlfriend into the house we once shared. And in the middle of my shock, I didn't yell, I didn't scream, I didn't even cry. I just typed one simple word: understood. It's hard to explain why I responded the way I did, but the reality is, I had already started accepting it long before that email. What happened next? Johnson thought he could just move on. But little did he know, I was already far ahead of him. Hello, I'm Vanessa. I was thousands of miles away in uniform, carrying weight I never thought I'd bear. Not just the gear or the pressure of being overseas, but the slow, sinking feeling that something back home wasn't right. Turns out I was right. This isn't just a story about betrayal, it's about how I handled the worst kind of heartbreak with a calm reply and a plan he never saw coming. So I always thought I was strong. Growing up, I was the kind of girl who never let anything bring me down. So when I decided to join the military and go on a deployment, I didn't think it would be the end of my marriage. In fact, I thought it would strengthen our relationship. Johnson, my husband, had always supported my decision. He was proud of me, and I loved him deeply. We had been together for almost 6 years, and I believed in us. I thought we had built something solid, but I guess you never really know what's going on behind closed doors. I was deployed overseas, and at first, everything was fine. I got the usual messages from Johnson letting me know he missed me and how proud he was of the work I was doing. I was busy with my missions, but I always made time to call or text him, just to keep that connection. I didn't think anything was off, but after a few months, things started to feel different. Johnson's text became shorter, our calls, which used to last for hours, were getting shorter and more disconnected. At first, I told myself it was just stress. He had a lot going on back home, and I had my work to focus on here. But deep down, I couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that something wasn't right. It was hard being so far away, and I started missing him in ways I didn't expect. I began to wonder if he was feeling the same way. Was he missing me? Or was he, like so many others, growing used to the distance? I knew I wasn't imagining it when Johnson stopped answering my calls right away. He'd always been so quick to respond, but now there was a delay. When I did finally get him on the phone, he didn't sound like himself. The warmth was gone, replaced by something distant. "Hey Johnson, is everything okay?" I asked one night after he had taken forever to return my call. "Yeah, everything's fine," he replied, his voice flat. "Just tired, same old stuff, work, the house." I wanted to ask more, to press him, but something told me not to. Part of me wanted to believe him. After all, we'd been through so much together, but another part of me knew better. Connection between us was slowly unraveling, thread by thread, and I wasn't sure why. The more I tried to reach out, the more distant he became. And then there were the nights when I would lie in bed, scrolling through my phone, waiting for him to message me back. Sometimes he wouldn't respond at all, and I would just have to force myself to go to sleep, pretending it didn't hurt. I started to feel like I was losing him, and it terrified me. The woman I was before I left had always been confident and self-assured, but now overseas I felt vulnerable. I was alone in a foreign country with only my mission to keep me going. Johnson and I were slipping through each other's fingers, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. It was late one night when I opened my inbox. I had just finished a long day of work and was exhausted, but I couldn't sleep without checking my messages first. I clicked on my email app and saw a message from Johnson. The subject line read, "We need to talk." I froze. I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't bring myself to open it. I sat there, staring at the screen, my heart pounding in my chest. Finally, I opened it. "Vanessa," the email began, "I've been thinking a lot lately, and I don't think this is working anymore. I'm filing for divorce. I've moved on. I've moved in with someone else. The house is no longer yours, and I've emptied our joint account." The words blurred together as my mind raced. Divorce, another woman, our home, our money, everything we had built together. "I'm sorry, but I think this is for the best," he wrote. I sat there in disbelief. I read the email again, and again, I felt a wave of anger, hurt, and confusion hit me all at once. How could he do this? How could he throw away everything we had worked for? I had been giving my all to my work, to my duty, while he… What? He couldn't even give me the decency of telling me in person? But as I sat there, reading the words over and over, I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't even feel the kind of anger I thought I would feel. Instead, I felt numb. Like everything that had happened between us was already in the past. Like it had never really mattered. I took a deep breath and typed a simple response. Understood. It wasn't that I accepted what he had done. It wasn't that I was okay with it, but in that moment, I realized that there was nothing more to say. The man I thought I knew, the man I thought I could trust, had made his choice. And so had I. After I sent that email, I sat there in my tiny quarters, staring at the screen. It was quiet, too quiet. I couldn't hear anything over the pounding of my own thoughts, but strangely enough, I felt calm. Calm in a way I hadn't felt in months. I knew things were about to change, forever. But for the first time, I wasn't afraid of it. I wasn't terrified of what came next. I was ready. Johnson had chosen his path, and I had chosen mine. There was nothing more to argue, no point in begging him to stay. I had come to a realization that I was worth more than this. As the hours ticked by, I knew he was waiting for a response. Maybe he thought I would beg him to come back, that I would fight for the marriage. But instead, I had given him exactly what he had asked for. It was over. And he didn't even know how much strength I had found in that. The next day, Johnson sent me another message, this time more urgent. Vanessa, please, we need to talk. I didn't mean for it to be like this. I'd respond, and I wouldn't. He had made his decision, and now I was making mine. When I replied to his email with just one word, understood, I bet he thought I was weak, that I gave up, that he could walk away, keep the house, the money, and his new little girlfriend while I sat thousands of miles away, crushed. But what he didn't know was that word wasn't the end. It was my beginning. After I cried that night in my bunk, quiet so no one could hear me, I stood up the next morning and looked at myself in the mirror. My face was tired, my eyes were swollen, but something in me had changed. I was done begging, I was done feeling small. I started waking up earlier than anyone. I ran laps before duty, I trained harder. I even took an online class during nights when most people were watching shows or chatting. I read about finances, investments, and even property buying, all from a folding chair in a hot tent overseas. I ate plain food, drank only water, and saved every dollar I could. While he was out eating at steakhouses with her on our money, I was building something, quietly, on my own. People started noticing, Vanessa, you're glowing, they'd say. You look stronger. But they didn't know why, and I didn't tell them. I kept my story to myself because silence was my power. When I finally came back home after that deployment, I didn't go to my old neighborhood. I didn't ask for the house back. I didn't even text him. I went straight to a small apartment I had paid for in full. No rent, no debt, just mine. 3 months later, I bought my first rental property. 2 months after that, I got a promotion. Life wasn't easy, but I had peace, and peace is priceless. Almost a year had passed when his name popped up on my phone. I stared at the screen for a while. Part of me wanted to block him, but curiosity got me. I answered just to see what he would say. Vanessa, he said quietly, I messed up. He told me she left him, that she'd taken half of what was left in the account, that the house was too quiet without me, that he missed the way I laughed in the kitchen, that he was drinking too much, that he made the worst mistake of his life. He said he didn't mean to hurt me like that he was stressed, lost, didn't know what he was doing. I didn't cry, I didn't get angry, I didn't say anything for a moment. Then I replied, calm and slow, you didn't break me, you freed me. There was silence on the line. You thought I'd sit around, broken, but I rebuilt myself. You didn't even check to see what kind of woman you threw away. He said he wanted to meet. Said maybe we could talk. Maybe we could start over. I laughed a little, not to be mean, but it was just too late. No, I said gently. Some things break for a reason. I didn't hate him. I didn't need to. He had to live with the fact that I'd become everything he never believed I could be without him. Now he watches me from afar, on social media, through mutual friends. He sees me traveling, smiling, growing. He liked one of my photos once, just a heart emoji. I didn't respond, because I was never his loss. He was mine, and I survived it. He thought he broke me, but instead he built the strongest version of me. And now, he's just another chapter I've already outgrown. If this story hit something in you, drop your thoughts in the comments. Just real stories, real people. And if you're curious what happened next, maybe that's another video. But in case you want more raw, honest stories like this, stick around, we're just getting started.